From the WATE.com Digital Center, answering your legal questions, this is Ask Isaacs. Now, here's Lori Tucker and attorney Greg Isaacs.
Hi, everyone. Well, if you are a regular viewer or listener to this and you've been watching, the live event will happen soon for a few minutes. We apologize. We've had a few behind-the-scenes shenanigans today, but we're ready to get going, Greg.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes.
We had an Altoid issue.
Yes, we needed Altoids. This is not a commercial, but we got them, so we're good to go. We're talking holiday parties and Tennessee law. And mainly when you think about hosting a holiday party, what's the number one fear when it comes to guest safety and your liability? And that, of course, is having people over who overindulge, then they leave. What can happen to you? So let's talk about holiday parties and the DRAM law here in Tennessee.
You know, holidays a great time. Everybody loves to host a Christmas party, go to a Christmas party. But Tennessee has two laws that are very similar to the majority of states, and there is a Tennessee Dram Shop Act that applies to commercial vendors such as restaurants, bars, taverns, etc. And then there's also some issues with host liability. When you have that party at your office, you have that party at your home. But you start with this premise. Our Tennessee courts and legislature has held that the consumption of alcohol is the proximate cause of injuries, not the furnishing of alcohol. So by and
puts
large,
responsibility on the drinker, not the...
Correct. Now let's talk about some exceptions. As with any law, there's exceptions. 27 shades of gray between black and white. If you're a restaurant, a bar, a tavern, under the Dram Shop Act, two major ways you can get in trouble, and that is serving someone that's underage. And you know that's why when you see people card people, you know the Metropolitan Drug Commission and other people routinely, and I've seen this already this holiday season, do sting operations where cadets go in with fake IDs, and you know it's amazing.
Just to see if they're complying. I, for one, don't mind being carded at this stage in my life. I say thank you.
It's a pleasure. So that's something that's very significant. The second way, a commercial furnisher of alcohol can be liable if you serve somebody that is visibly intoxicated. Over-serving. And you know, that's kind of a slippery slope when you're in the context of a bar, tavern, restaurant, you know, to be, and they're taught and they're trained to be sensitive to signs such as slurred speech, bloodshot eyes, etc. But you know, in a big group, in a big party, it's amazing we don't require a limit. Like, sir, you've had, or ma'am, more than 2 beers in an hour and your body can't metabolize it. No, typically it's the server or bartender's subjective impression as to whether that person is visibly intoxicated.
Yeah, and they've been, like you said, they've been trained. People who host family and friends have not been trained, and that's where it gets really tough. Say someone does leave your home, they get into an accident. We've had situations like this happen here when it involves underage people who've been drinking and had terrible accidents. When people were found liable, parents were especially. But let's talk about things that could get us in trouble as a host if people leave our home and they're inebriated.
And let's talk about host liability. Again, you start with the general premise that the consumption of alcohol, not the furnishing, is the proximate cause of collisions, negligence, etc. But the main way you can get in trouble as a social host, if you serve somebody underage, big no-no under Tennessee law, and that can lead to liability. The second thing, believe it or not, I call it the portion of the social host liability that no good deed goes unpunished. If you assume a duty. So let's say you want to do the right thing and you take one individual's keys. And there's a leading case on this, and it happened in the context of a sleepover. I think it was a graduation party. and the host, trying to be responsible people, took the keys and had everybody put them in a bucket or whatever, made sure no one can drive. But somebody came in late and they didn't take their keys. That person was intoxicated, left the residence, got in a wreck, and the Tennessee Supreme Court said that the social host had assumed a duty even though they otherwise would not have been liable.
Precedent had been set. They'd already
Right.
taken everybody else's
So-
keys.
so,
Wow.
yeah,
Got to be careful.
So remember, if you tell one person not to drive, then you have assumed a duty to make judgment calls throughout the course of that party. So, again, not the higher commercial standard of the Tennessee Dram Shop, but both of them. The main thing is to focus on people underage.
Well, there's some other things beyond drinking. That's the biggie. But when you're hosting a party, how liable are you? Say grandma comes walking up or a friend comes walking up on the sidewalk and maybe they trip over a light cord that you haphazardly put for your Christmas lights. Can you be held legally liable?
Well, you absolutely can, and the issue is whether you used reasonable care under the circumstances, whether you knew there was a dangerous condition to your property, whether it's a step that's a little wobbly or a stone. We had to actually redo all of ours on the porch just because I was getting a little nervous with all the UPS mail people coming. So yes, you do have a duty to use reasonable care, but now that's a social invitee. There is a higher standard if you're a commercial invitee as regarding the standard of care.
Someone there to paint your house or
restaurants or whatever.
I see what you mean.
Yeah, a commercial
taking it out of your
standard.
home, but
Yeah.
at the
So
commercial.
basically, if it's your home, you have a duty to use reasonable care under the circumstances.
What if someone falls down your stairs and they're safe? The stairs are safe.
Then you say, I'm very sorry, you're clumsy, and my stairs are perfectly fine. On the flip side of that, if you had a stair that the wood was rottening, or had not been done to code, could be an issue. But again, reasonable care under the circumstances.
What are some other issues that we could face beyond the scope of drinking and some sloppy things that you may not have taken care of construction-wise at your home before having people over?
Well, the main thing is just use common sense. And even though typically people that are invited to a Christmas party or another gathering, you have a relationship with, and you know them, so don't be afraid to be a responsible host. So that's kind of the legal, to me the touchstone is, are you being responsible?
Yeah.
If you have somebody you see that's having a little too much, even though you might say, I don't think they're visibly intoxicated, I don't have, the responsibility that a restaurant bar owner would, do the right thing. So don't be afraid to say, hey, that's too much, or don't be afraid to say, hey, your kids that are in from out of state, from college, really can't have a glass of wine because they're underage.
Yeah.
Because that person, you don't know where they're going to go after they leave your house or whatever. So don't
Just
be afraid.
have those boundaries.
Have boundaries,
Yeah.
and don't be afraid to be responsible.
Okay, let's talk about work parties. That's a whole other set of issues in terms of, behavior at work. We have certain rules, no bullying, no harassing. Say somebody gets drunk and they start spouting off a bunch of stuff. Could they be in trouble? I mean,
well,
obviously you could lose your job over that, but
Absolutely.
what about legally?
What we do, when you're at an office Christmas party, a business Christmas party, just know you're still in the environment of being an employee or an employer. You're still a manager, even though it's Christmas and you're wearing a silly looking sweater. I was actually at a large corporate gathering last year, and an employee that was over, I won't even mention the department, became visibly intoxicated, grabbed the microphone, and was just very demonstrative.
Yeah.
And that person was terminated that following Monday.
Yeah,
So
that's
just know
unfortunate.
it does not give you a pass to sexually harass somebody, make improper comments, or otherwise behave inappropriately. So an office party, really is a work function,
Mm-hmm.
not a no holds bar. We're all here.
Tell yourself before you leave, I'm going to limit myself to this or not partake at all and have a good time.
And just remember, office parties are not off the record.
Correct. All right. Let's leave it there. We'll talk more coming up at 5:30.
Let's do it.
Thanks for being with us.